Yeah. Let me drop exclusive game from my exclusive mind. You be out here chasing fame, I stay steady on my grind. Zero diamonds, zero.
Thank you for tapping into the Exclusive Minds podcast. Today we're going to be having an exclusive conversation with exclusive content from Exclusive Minds. I'm your host, Rook, and
Joe,
let's get right into it.
for episode 15.
Yo.
This is 15, right?
No, wait, is it not? Is it 15?
Yeah, it's 15.
All right, if it's not 15, it's 16. One of the two.
No, it's 15.
All right, 100%.
Yes.
Today we have our unofficial third co-host, I guess, because he's on every single podcast, if you really think about it, in the beginning and at
That's
the
true.
end. So
Yep.
we have Marcus. Marcus, say what's up.
What's up, everybody? How we feeling?
So if you guys don't know Marcus, he's a Web3 NFT flipper, crypto guy. Is that a good, I guess, introduction for yourself? I mean, am I missing anything there? Artist, creative?
Yeah, I would say I'm not that. I'm definitely tapped into the Web3. I'm more so just a entrepreneur. You know what I mean? Like, and Web3 is where I choose to be an entrepreneur. But I'm mainly a community builder at the end of the day. To be honest, that's a lot of what I do.
I like that title, community builder. That's good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people know you because of the last episode. That one did extremely well. And, you know, a lot of people are coming from your end who might not know me and Joe. My name's David. That's Joe. You know, we're into the crypto stuff as well. Not as heavily as Marcus is into the NFTs, but we're more on the crypto side. But yeah, we're just going to talk about some topics today, kind of related back to, I guess, your neck of the woods, the whole NFT stuff, and kind of go from there. But before we go forward with that, I had a couple articles here that I wanted to break down. First things first, I guess we could start off with a lighter topic. Did you guys happen to see that Mr. Beast released a chocolate recently? I know we kind of talked about the influencers getting into the mainstream, getting it more into like stores and having actual products in stores, but he came out with chocolate that he's kind of going off of the Willy Wonka type theme where he has, I think, like 10 tickets, and one of the 10 tickets will put you in a YouTube video or win X amount of dollars, which is pretty cool. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
I haven't. So is this Mr. Beast guy? Is he one of the
Oh, he's the best.
Is he one of the Paul guys?
No.
Everything goes back to the Paul guys. For me.
No. So Mr. Beast, he's his own beast in himself. He's awesome. He did the Squid Games he redid it, but with YouTubers and like people.
Okay.
But he ended up outperforming.
I know you
Squid
forwarded
Games.
me a couple. It was a few months ago, and you know what it was. I know what it was.
What was it?
You sent me a link to
His
Mr.
podcast.
Beast's podcast where he was talking.
Yes.
To
how he
Jake Paul.
how he breaks things down in his head. He's fantastic.
That's what it was. That's why I had the association.
Marcus, what do you think about these influencers getting into the space of, you know, actual tangible things?
I think that it's smart. You know, if they really have an entrepreneur mind and they're trying to build a business, they have to have tangible things at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, kind of like with the NFT stuff, right? I mean, in a way where there's a lot of influencers promoting that.
Say that again?
I said, would you compare it to like what the influencers in the NFT space are doing, or would you say that this is kind of a separate thing? Because a lot of the things are, you know, influencers like Mike Tyson today just put out an NFT for his pigeons. Like, would you consider this on the same scale as that, or is this like a kind of a separate beast in itself? No pun intended.
I would say that this is kind of a evolution of that. You know, like everybody has to figure out the NFT space. So of course, their first thing isn't going to be necessarily the most tangible value NFT or anything like that. And then as they actually learn how it works, that's when, you know, they can start to branch off and really bring actual tangible value through their NFTs. So I just think that it's an evolutionary thing. Mr. Beast is, you know, very prominent on the web as a whole. So he's trying to continue to build his brand and his businesses. And for me, it's only right that it makes sense.
Absolutely. No, for sure. I mean, he's not, this is not his first time doing this. He's done this with, he did a collaboration or partnership or something with Grubhub, the food delivery service, and it was a ghost kitchen, which is his brand, but these kitchens all around. So, for example, our, let's say Pasquale's, they would have the ingredients to make his burger and then put it out. And then he has like 300 something ghost kitchens around the United States. So in order to, let's say you wanted to order the Beast Burger, you could get it on Grubhub and they're all over the place. But it's not necessarily a single brick and mortar store. It's like kind of a bunch of these kitchens that have the ingredients and have all of his packaging and stickers and everything so they can execute these orders. So he's definitely on the right track.
So the only way you could order that specific burger is if you
Grubhub
were an NFT holder.
No, this doesn't have anything to do with NFTs.
Oh, okay.
This is on Grubhub. This is a specific thing. This is like him just. This is just a secondary business that he came up with. Oh, yeah. Okay, it's kind of similar to the chocolate thing. But yeah, kind of enough of that topic. Let's move on. So the past week, it's kind of funny. Last week we didn't really have no like topics. I feel like this week's just been a eclipse of so much information that I've been, kind of receiving and taking note of. More specifically, in one of my college courses, we had a guest speaker come in. He was a former engineer who then switched over to the marketing field, and then he wrote a book about his journey with that and the struggles with that. But he actually, shout out to Atul, he actually had a great a top 10 list of top 10 reasons why business fail. And I would love to hear, Marcus, your opinion, and Joe, your opinion on this. But so the top 10 reasons, I'll give it to you, are there's no market need, they're out of cash, team issues, they get outcompeted, price/cost issues, weak business model, user unfriendly, ignored their customers, poor marketing, and product mistimed. Sorry. So out of those 10 reasons right there.
Well, so, you just rattled off a list of what I think is just basic 101, right? I'm not going to lie, right? I don't think there's anything that's really out of the ordinary here on that list. I think it's pretty obvious.
No, for sure. But out of those 10 things, 8 or 7 of those things pertain to marketing. So
I mean,
so out of those things, and then I could ask this question first to Marcus, then you, Joe. The first thing, in NFTs, how much would you say a percentage of what they are kind of attributes back to marketing?
Oh, big time. Definitely. That's probably the biggest part of NFTs is the marketing. If you can't market it, you're not going to be able to sell it.
Let me kind of play devil's advocate here, right? And I agree. I think marketing is a huge part of it, right? That's really, it's just being driven by all these, Twitter spheres and stuff like that. But I also think that a lot of it is being driven by speculation, right? So it is people that are really just buying it blind, hoping to make a buck and flip it real quick.
I would say, yeah, there's definitely some of that. But as you get deep into it and you start to actually deal with people who are educated in the space, there's not so much of that.
Yeah.
At the entry level, the people that are just getting in thinking, they see the post about Bored Ape Yacht Club was sold for $1 million. They're jumping in thinking they're going to make $1 million.
Well, yeah.
No, for sure. I definitely agree. Now, my question, pivoting off of that to you, Joe, in our line of work or even in your own professional career, how much would you attribute, let's say, to running a business goes to marketing, and how much would you say goes into like traditional, I guess, like what you kind of do as your day job? Like from like a Exclusive Minds point of view, I guess, versus traditional.
Well, so I'm not sure I follow you. So you're...
So like how much of the Exclusive Minds stuff, right? Exclusive Minds is our clothing brand. How much of that, like let's say the business end of that, would you say would be for marketing? Because we're providing a tangible object, right? So
Yes.
So how much would you say out of that 100% would you say we kind of dedicate to marketing?
In the case of Exclusive Minds, right, we're selling hoodies and clothes, right? So at the end of the day, unfortunately, that's a commodity product, right? So what we're actually really selling is the brand.
Yeah, exactly.
And the brand is all about, marketing it, right? So
a big
in our case, it is all really about marketing. It's tough to say it's about the product, right? And we've obviously had some conversations about trying to do different materials and stepping our game up and maybe, doing premium products. But at the end of the day, right, that's still I mean, that's not necessarily a differentiator in the market versus every other peer in it. So, when you look at something like a very mature market like clothing, right, you have to differentiate via marketing and brands,
identity,
brand development, brand identity, right?
Absolutely.
That is, without a doubt, probably 80+% of your success is going to be built around thing. You still need a good product. You still, if you have a crap product, and the brand will suffer. But at the end of the day, as long as you're kind of just doing the right thing on the actual product side of it, it's all about the marketing.
Yeah. No, and the reason I ask is because, I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, we're providing hoodies and kind of clothing, which has been around for forever at this point. I think providing we had a conversation in my class about just having the items stand out for itself. And in a very rare case, can you have something like clothing just kind of speak for itself in a sense, where it's like that's just like such an oversaturated thing where I couldn't even give you guys an example of a brand where it's just solely based on this is good because of the product. I mean, maybe the North Face, but even still, like, I mean, everyone's kind of doing the windbreaker style.
Most of the innovations that are occurring in the industry at this point are probably more on the materials that are
right, like tech and
making it up, right? So you get all these performance, materials or recycled materials or reclaiming ocean plastics and stuff like that, which are viable and but again, it's almost a material that kind of wraps into a marketing spin, right? It gives you some differentiation in the marketplace from a marketing perspective. So, but that's really where the innovation's occurring.
Yeah.
It's tough to say that there's design aesthetics, it's not high fashion, right? So
yeah, I don't know. I always been a fan of that the stuff that we've been talking about lately, which is like that tech type of like Gore-Tex, the beating off type of style, and I feel like that's making definitely huge noise right now in the clothing side of things. Marcus, did you have anything else to add to that, or would you like to move on?
I don't have much to add to it. I would just say that nowadays every industry is oversaturated, and it comes down to marketing. How can you actually get people to be with your movement and what you're trying to do for the culture of whatever industry you may be in? And again, that goes down to community building, marketing, and then delivering on something that is one of a kind. Like the reason that I support EXM versus any other brand is because of the experience with EXM. I mean, I know you guys personally, and then to support you and then actually have this high quality hoodie that I get, and to know that you guys are like always looking into how to be better than the last drop, how to make this next drop 10 times better than the last one. I see you going through this process, and it feels good for me as a consumer and as a friend to be a part of that journey. So
yeah, no, for sure. That well put.
Yeah, and I mean, we can move on from this, but I mean, I think I don't remember the entire list of 10, but a lot of those I think are definite pitfalls, but they can actually be overcome by a really strong brand.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, for Marcus, when you talk about, I guess, like being a community developer, community manager, would you say that, I mean, this is kind of pivoting away from the marketing conversation. What would you say the most important aspect of that would be? And what makes a strong community? The actual product at hand? Or would you just say the people behind that project that are good people, like you said, that are kind of developing and looking for the next best thing? Or is it kind of a combination of both? And what would you say that breakdown is?
To be honest, it's really a combination of both. Because if the people behind the project suck, the project is going to be trash. It doesn't matter how good the artwork is, how quality the products are, anything like that. So it's really like the people plus what they're delivering on, because just because you have a core founding or a core group of people that are great people, if they're not giving anything of value, people aren't going to necessarily want to invest or be a part of it. So there is a balance. I don't necessarily think one is more important than the other. And at the end of the day, it's really a matter of seeing what these brands and these communities are all about, seeing how personable the CEO or the marketing manager or whoever it is that you're talking to is actually invested in the company and in the community. And then from there, seeing what they actually provide of value to their community.
No, absolutely. And like what you said, like for me, what's a turn off when looking at a business is when you're kind of looking in at these like the higher ups, like the C-suite type people, and they kind of act like their SHIT doesn't stink in a way where they kind of are like, all right, I'm too good to kind of get my hands dirty or kind of not take that progressive step towards innovation. I always like to see that for any company that I worked with, you know what I mean? But recently in the headlines, this is kind of pivoting away from that conversation. Sony fires back and buys Bungie, the creator of Halo and Destiny, for a rough approximate $3.6 billion. Now, Marcus, I know you're really passionate about this conversation, and me and Joe spoke about this with, the Microsoft transaction that happened 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, or roughly around that.
Yeah,
it was about $70 billion. However, Michael Patcher says they vastly overpaid for this out of pure desperation. He said, unquote, 1.2% of the billion, 1.2 billion of the 3.6 billion Sony paid for Bungie is to keep the employees from leaving after the acquisition closes. Seems very odd, excessive even. So 2.4 billion is a real acquisition cost, and the 1.12 billion is please don't go money. And then he kind of brings this back to how EA bought Respawn a couple years back for $700 million, and Respawn's home of like Apex Legends, Titanfall, Medal of Honor, those type of games. EA bought them for $700 million, and this includes 400 developers, and they're bringing in roughly around $700 million in revenue per year, as the Bungie's $200 million in revenue per year, which is kind of crazy. So then this kind of leads me to my next question. Is there a huge supply for video game developers coming? And what's that look like, I guess, for the roadmap of like this Web 3.0? I mean, we're obviously seeing a lot of the talks of Metaverse, Decentraland, all this stuff, Meta with Facebook. I mean, is this the new hot topic or hot career path for a lot of these guys in college, or what? Like, talk to me about video. Like, what's that mean for video game developers moving forward? They said $1.2 million or billion was spent to keep employees.
So go ahead, Joe.
No, I was just going to say that if you look at the Blizzard Activision acquisition, right? They specifically spelled out that part of this was to recruit talent, right, or get additional talent and maintain it. So, I mean, clearly, with Sony also calling this out, or at least the article calling it out, right? There's a clear deficit in game developers. And I think that's part of this acquisition spree is to try and acquire this talent and bring it in-house and try and maintain it in-house. So, I mean, obviously from a career path, this short term certainly seems like it could be a significant boon for anybody who's interested in moving into it. How long it lasts, and it's like everything. It gets hot, and then everybody goes into it, and then all of a sudden you have a flood of people. But I would imagine short term, for the next couple of years or so at least, there's going to be a significant opportunity for those skilled developers to kind of find a place and a home. So I think that's good. The other thing I thought was kind of interesting in that Sony announcement was the Sony guy was actually very upfront about the fact that he said this was just the beginning of the acquisition spree. So he kind of threw the gauntlet down and said to Microsoft, let's have at it. We're going to just start buying up people. So it'll be interesting to see if there's a war,
like a bidding war,
acquisitions of all these little small developing studios. So it'll be kind of interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know if any of these are going to be platform specific, right? So I mean, I just don't see.
Yeah,
like Warcraft, right? Warcraft's not going to be just a Microsoft
single
title, right?
It's always going to be cross-play.
Yeah, it's always going to be cross-platform because there's just too much money at stake not to.
Yeah.
Maybe every once in a while they'll have like some isolated top title, but I don't know.
Yeah, and Marcus, did you have any feedback on that?
Absolutely. So as far as the acquisition goes, and there being a portion of that put aside for the talent to continue that work culture. That is something that happens in business all the time. And for people that don't really know how these big business transactions go down, you wouldn't know that. You would be like, just talking the BS and be uneducated. But when you switch ownership of a company, it changes the work culture. So then the people are very likely to leave, right? So when you're telling them things like, you know what, we're gonna make sure that you stay. Now you're showing as a business how serious you're taking it, because now you're going to pay extra to make sure it can continue to go down this certain path. So I don't think that it's a bad thing that they paid. You know, they're paying because they believe in it. They really want to continue to develop this long term and not have to start from square one. Yeah, they got the name, but now they have to start from square one because everybody left. So what good is the name? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. So then
expensive price
outside
tag
of
behind
that, I think that tech, you know, just like the nursing thing, right? The nurses, when I was growing up, that was where everybody was trying to be. Everybody wanted to be a nurse. Now there's way too many nurses, and you know, it's like not enough hospitals, and all of that kind of stuff that kind of comes with it. I think that in the next, you know, 5-10 years, you're going to see this boom, the tech boom, right? And there's going to be a lot of people getting into tech. And again, they're going to have to be different from everybody else and actually be able to provide something of value outside of their degree. And, you know, the old school way of thinking, something very innovative to actually make a way and get in with these big companies. But with that being said, with tech continuing to develop, there's going to continue to be more and more jobs for the tech guys. But now it's a matter of which piece of tech are you going to get into? Are you getting into the development side? Are you getting into the marketing of the tech? Are you getting into actually building tech, engineering it? You know, there's all of this, there's different pieces of it. But yeah, it will be just like everything else. It will become oversaturated. So you have to think of how are you going to be different?
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because, I mean, I don't know if you guys caught that Disney is looking for an NFT manager.
Oh, yeah. On their
right, and it's a real high-profile position. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, so, you know, how do you define your expertise in NFT? And that's definitely not coming out of a college degree, right?
Yeah.
You're not, you know, you're not a graduate of Harvard or MIT or whatever with NFT experience, right? So that's almost got to come out of you know, people who have actually are doing it
with their work experience.
They very likely may not be, you know, highly educated in the sense of, you know, having a college degree or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, especially with a high profile company like Disney, I would imagine they're paying relatively well. So whoever it is, I guess you're getting real lucky with or I guess not lucky, but if you're applying that to having, like, I don't know, a project in the past, it's a skill. So anyhow, we're gonna pivot from that to this organization called Dignitas, and I don't really know how to say that or pronounce their name, but they are a eSports organization. They have a League of Legends team, a Rocket League team. They just signed Eagles running back Byron Scott as their substitute player in the Rocket League, which makes him the first ever two-sport athlete to compete in a professional sport and an esport. I wonder what this is like, though, because he's a full-time athlete. This is probably more for press more than anything, I would imagine. But he's on the bench for the Rocket League team, so it's pretty cool to see, I guess, one of the Eagles players. I mean, that's our home team.
It's funny. I'm laughing and I'm like thinking to myself, wait, didn't this already happen? And what it was I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's a television show on HBO with The Rock.
Okay. What's it called?
God, I can't think
Hustlers?
of the name. Yeah, it was something like that. He's like a sports agent.
Okay.
And there's a whole storyline about this football player, this professional football player who buys into an esports team and actually wants to quit his, like, you know, $15 million a year NFL job to go into actually playing on his own esports team. And that was a whole storyline. And I'm as you're saying it, I'm thinking, wait, this has already happened.
Yeah.
But it was actually a television show. But it's, I mean, literally that's the
happening. Yeah, this is what's happening now in real life. I mean, shout out to him. But like I said, I don't know his Rocket League abilities, but it's something that we never really seen before. A professional athlete, someone who's trained their whole life in, you know, football, who's also, I'm imagining, somewhat decent at a video game to get signed by a esports team. But it'll be pretty interesting to see how that plays out.
Time will tell. But
yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. That'd be very interesting to see. In other news with that, Rockstar announced that they are in development of GTA 6, and Activision confirmed that Call of Duty's 2022 title will be the most ambitious, industry-leading, and broadly appealing franchise for the coming years. So
well, hasn't that been the case for the last?
It's been the case for
10
since the beginning of time, Joe. I mean, we really could sit here all day, but GTA 6, though, that's something that a lot of people were speculating about and saying, oh, it's coming X date, X date,
So,
X date.
I mean, to kind of go back to your very first thing about marketing in business.
Yeah.
Like, think about that, right? So, Call of Duty, right? And they're coming out with this spin, right? And because of poor marketing over the last bunch of releases, right? You who used to be a hardcore, I'd be there at midnight for game launch, are looking and reading that marketing script, and you're like, yawn. I don't care. I don't believe it. Right?
It's a case of what we talked about a couple weeks ago when when you have these influencers constantly promote something, their word slowly starts to mean less. Yeah, over time, and we've heard this time after time after time again. It's just like,
well, when guys start selling chocolate. Seriously, I'm not joking. Right?
No, I get that.
I mean, that's you're just jumping the shark, and you clearly. I mean, me as an outsider, I'm sitting there. This freaking guy's doing this for the money, right? I mean. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, I understand. It's all. I mean, me personally, as a Mr. Beast fan, he seems like a great guy, and all of his videos are very positive. He never got into really any drama, so he just seems like an overall good guy, and he's doing it for some sort of YouTube video where he's obviously getting a paycheck out of it, but 10 people that kind of got this Willy Wonka fantasy of, I'm going to get the magic chocolate bar.
It's a cool spin, but I mean, again. I don't know. I mean,
I think that, sorry to cut you all off, but I think there's something that we don't see at the base level is what is the long-term vision, right?
Exactly.
Because he could easily, on the back end, be thinking about getting into the marijuana industry or the hemp industry, the CBD and all of that kind of stuff. And this is just his gateway into that. He might be going the edible route. So we don't know.
Yeah.
On the front end, it feels like it's just a cash grab, but what is he doing as a business on the back end? That'll be kind of what we get to see unfold. So right now it's kind of too early to tell. At face value, it feels like cash grab. You're doing it for the quote unquote experience, but why are you getting into chocolate? Like you haven't been a chocolate guy. So now all of a sudden you're talking about chocolate. So what is this about?
Yeah.
But I think that it'll be really interesting to actually see where it goes, because if you see where the world is going, he could easily be like, that was just to get people aware of the brand, and now we're actually building a whole
separate
edible
operation.
Cannabis brand that's nationwide or something. We don't know. So
yeah, no, I mean that's fair. I mean that's absolutely fair. It's one of those things where it's a fine line and a fine time frame to reveal that broader picture before it kind of loses some of that merit. But yeah, I mean we'll see. It should be interesting.
I mean, speaking of cash, this is our guy here, Jeff Bezos. So I want your guys' both opinions on this, because this is something that me and my friends were baffled by when we read this.
Is this Amazon Prime going up, or the fact that he's destroying a historical bridge
so we're getting
out of a dry dock?
So we're going there. So Rotterdam to dismantle part of this is the headline, dismantle part of a historic bridge so Jeff Bezos' massive yacht can pass through. When I read that headline, I feel like he called me broke in 30 different languages. But so the story is that Rotterdam, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, has agreed to temporarily dismantle part of its historic Conshaven Bridge so Jeff Bezos' 417-foot long 3-mast yacht could pass through the waterway sometime this summer, according to the spokeswoman for the city. I don't even know where to begin on this.
Well, I mean, seriously, this is overblown. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, so he's paying the expense to, and all he's doing, they're probably just removing part of the bridge, and then as soon as the boat goes through, they're going to put it back together like it had never been touched. So I mean, the reality is, it's because it's Jeff Bezos, and everybody wants to, kind of just pour all over him and just piss him on about the fact that he's a rich guy and he's flaunting it. But the reality is it's probably not a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think what throws off that,
I mean, it's not like he's blowing up the bridge and it's gone forever, right? They're removing a little section of it so his masts can get through, and then they're putting it back together. It's not a big deal.
I think what is really throwing people off is that historic word, because truth be told, I could probably speak for 95% of the people listening to this. No one's ever heard of that bridge,
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's clickbait.
So that's what it is. But I don't know, just something about it just seems like off. Like part of you just like wants to say like, geez, like
it's a 1%er problem. I mean,
yeah, for sure, definitely is. How much was the yacht? Do you guys know off the top of your head? I didn't look into.
No clue.
$450 million.
$450 million.
Yeah.
So another thing that people are failing to realize, okay, he's doing this, but he's also in the process, he's creating more work for people, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, it sounds like, oh, this rich guy doing it, but he's actually adding to the ecosystem. You know what I'm saying? He's
Yeah.
actually giving people work that they wouldn't otherwise had. Yeah, it's kind of out there, it's far out there, but again, he's adding value to people. Yeah, look, come work real quick, let me get my boat through, and then
Not
put it
just the
back
regular
together.
boat, the mega yacht,
Yeah,
or whatever
and
the headline
I'm sure
said.
there's more to that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
let's be honest, right? The city of Rotterdam is not doing this for altruistic reasons, right? They're not giving him
Right.
carte blanche to destroy a bridge because of his boat. He's paying for it, and I'm guessing there's probably maybe as part of that he's kicking in some funds to fix the bridge that probably needed to be repaired. There's a lot of things we don't even know, but it's
Yeah,
just
no, for sure.
it's clickbait. I mean, honestly, it is just absolute clickbait.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, Marcus, that's a great way to look at it. I wasn't even looking at it from that point of view of him creating jobs and stuff like that. I mean, that's definitely a fair way to look at it.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know.
At the end
I
of the
read that. I
day,
was like, what?
like the fight, with the tax the rich and that kind of stuff. Oh, look at what they're doing. At the end of the day, they are creating the most jobs
That's true.
ever. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, they should, in my opinion, they should get a little break, right? They should be able to not pay as many taxes, because look at how many people they actually added to the ecosystem, and they're on top of the business that they have. The business is getting taxed, right? You have all of those shipping fees and all of those state taxes and local taxes, all of that kind of stuff. And people don't even pay attention to that. They just get mad because they're uneducated and they don't really know how the economy works. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So they're quick to be like, oh, look at this rich guy doing all of this rich guy stuff. Like, it's not that. Dig a little deeper, you'll see that he's actually adding to the whole world,
Maybe that's why he's bumping the price of Amazon Prime up from one.
Well, he's not involved anymore, right? He quit. Or not quit, but
yeah.
So
Good point.
not surprised. Everybody's raising prices and just using supply chain as the excuse. So.
I must say, though, Amazon's the one thing I guess you really can't argue with. They get packages, too. Me and Joe talk about this all the time, within the same day sometimes.
You know what, though? So here's the deal. I don't know if anybody's ever looked at actually not having Prime and seeing how long it takes packages to be delivered. So the reality is, right, if you don't have Prime, you instead of getting the package in 2 days, you get it in 3.
Oh.
So
really?
Not always, but
Okay.
I mean, if you look at the vast majority of the stuff that's delivered overnight or in 2 days, you basically could get it in 3 days through normal delivery without Prime.
So Prime's just a service for the impatient.
So two things, right? I mean, yes,
Okay.
because you get the speedy delivery, right? And that's what I think most people think of it, but you also get all the Amazon Prime videos, right? So it's like a Netflix service as well. So you do get that, but I mean, most people have it, I think, for delivery. And the reality is, if you actually because like there was a window where I was like, screw this, I'm not paying these guys any more money, right? And I turned it off and I was like, okay, so this isn't really all that bad. And then there was some TV show I wanted to watch, so I went back and got it. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's interesting because I think
I never thought of it that way.
as, instant gratification is a very powerful thing, and this is probably a classic example of it, because if you didn't have it, you'd still get those packages pretty freaking quick.
I think this is one of those instances where positive press kind of outshines the negative press, because we always talk about, the same day. I never once thought to look, well, how much does that actually take? How long does it actually take to get to your house otherwise? So,
I mean, a few years back, it was definitely an
more
advantage, right? Because
significant,
they had 2 warehouses, right? They had a warehouse in Kentucky and a warehouse on the West Coast, right? Now they've got warehouses every 15 minutes. I mean, it's almost like Starbucks when it comes to these million square foot warehouses, right? You drive down any of these major highways, and you'll see several Amazon warehouses as you kind of go. It's crazy.
No, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that was about it for my topics. I know you had a couple, Joe.
I got a couple. So on the NFT front, so it's good that Marcus is on. So I did you see the big story about the $320 million crypto hack of
Which one?
Wormhole, which is Jump Crypto?
No, I haven't seen that.
So they apparently had some sort of a hack where they stole $320 million in Ethereum.
Oh my God! Did you hear about this, Marcus?
I didn't hear about it, mainly probably because I do research on these projects. So if a project is really bad, I'm not going to look into it too much, because I know there is this space it's the wild, wild west,
Yeah.
So I don't like every crypto and every NFT project that exists isn't a good crypto or good NFT project. You got to know how to do research and know
Well,
what
I
is
don't
good,
even think
what's
this was a
valuable.
project. This was so Jump Trading is like a really, I mean, they're kind of a behind the scenes, but a big stock exchange kind of company, right? And so they had this offshoot, Jump Crypto, which is just a subsidiary that was doing crypto trading, right? And I don't know the specifics, but I mean they're almost like a Coinbase or something like that, right? I think
Like
they're
a middleman.
holding or they're transacting, and I guess they got somehow hit or infiltrated for this 300. So the really crazy thing about this is they announced today, I think, that they put the money back in. So someone steals $320 million. And then a week later, they put the money back in to cover all of the losses. And I'm like, what the hell, right?
Yeah.
You know, 320 million would collapse most companies, and
Yeah, it makes you
they're
question
just
how much
paying
are
it
they,
it's the
how
price
much
to
are they
pay.
actually bringing in then if that's the case?
Either
I mean,
that or
And then another thing is like, was the hack internal? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we
man.
don't know too much about it. And at the end of the day, it could have been something internal. We don't know. You know
That's
what I mean?
true,
They could
and
have
maybe
took the
they're
money,
just trying to
invested
brush
it real
under the
quick,
yeah.
ran up crazy capital, and then just put back what they didn't, you know, what they finessed out of people. So, you know, again, this space is the wild, wild west. So right now, in its current stance, that's kind of why I look into the projects that I look into, just because of longevity and how long they've been around, how stable is their actual platform, you know, what is the blockchain looking like, how often do the blocks get rewritten, and all of that kind of information, because those kind of things go into how stable a project really is going to be and how well equipped it is to, you know, fight these hacks that, you know, people are always trying to hack servers. They're trying to hack everybody.
Yeah.
And the big names, they're going to be able to fight off those hacks. But the smaller guys, the guys that are just getting in that don't know anything, they're going to get hacked because they don't know anything.
So I wonder if this was a marketing ploy, like, hey, we're gonna. I mean, because like you said, Marcus, the Wild Wild West, like they
but,
could.
I mean, $320 million, and it's, you know, it's got a lot of negative.
Yeah, I mean, but then they're also like the superheroes because they're like, oh, we'll reimburse.
Yeah, I don't.
They don't think so.
That's some serious money, right?
Like,
if it was like a $50 million hack, maybe, but $320 million, that's serious change.
Well,
right?
I've never really heard of a company putting that type of money up before.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like that's like kind of like a one-off.
So I mean, this is the other thing I'm kind of curious about, and you guys can answer this, right? So I know we talked about Ether. Is it Etherscan, right?
Yeah,
Where
Etherscan.
So I'm assuming that the only way Etherscan could, you know, see what I have is if I actually provide my whatever it is, the 26-digit wallet code, right? So I mean, there's no way to track this. Like I guess that's the whole thing with Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? There's no way to track, right? $320 million worth of stolen, you know, Ethereum. You think that'd be easy to just kind of find,
down, yeah.
but maybe I'm missing it. But I mean, like, you know, does Etherscan have the ability to just kind of go out and look at a bunch of people's wallets and see if all of a sudden there's a spike in some dude's wallet of $300 million?
No, that's a fantastic question.
The answer is yes. If you go to Etherscan, they actually have, like, you can look like in real time activity of what's happening on the blockchain. So if there is a big spike, you can see. That doesn't necessarily mean you know anything about it, right? Because you don't know whose wallet it is or anything like that. You can just now track it. And when the government steps in and that kind of stuff, I think that's when people will get caught up, because they'll be able to track IP addresses and, you know, all of that kind of information.
So they literally could see where the money's at.
Yes.
I mean, they could see that it's in this wallet, but they don't know who owns that wallet, so there's no way to actually do anything about it. That's crazy.
So for the people that are listening, I'm realizing this as we're speaking. For people that don't know, Etherscan is a way to track and monitor like wallets, which they're called, for the crypto thing. I know there's a lot of probably new people in the crypto space listening to this. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about Etherscan and wallets and all this different type of stuff. So just wanted to catch everyone up to speed.
Etherscan is literally the Ethereum blockchain explorer. So you can explore any data that is stored on the Ethereum blockchain, Ethereum based, any crypto token or coin that comes out of Ethereum's blockchain, you can track it on Etherscan. It's where you see all of the information with anything pertaining to the Ethereum blockchain.
Yep.
And wasn't there another hack like a month or two ago for like $600 million where the guy gave all the money back? I thought I read that one too. So
600 million.
it was a lot. I mean, it was like a big number, and they ended up returning the money. So I don't know if that.
Yeah.
See, now that I could see being a publicity stunt, right? But it was like, hey, look at me, I can steal $600 million, but here, have it back because I really don't want the. It's like it's crazy.
That's kind of like the thing when we talked about on Thanksgiving with the guy that bought or not, was it before Thanksgiving with the ape that he bought it for $500 million or whatever, and then it turns out it was just sending it to himself. It's just one of those questions you have to kind of double look everything. Like, is this really what it says, or is there kind of a secondary underlying layer there?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like Marcus says, man, stuff's the wild, wild west. I don't know. I mean, do you think it's going to get regulated here soon, Marcus? I know we talked about this a little bit. Like they said something about what was it, over summer or something like that, beginning of summertime?
The time is that's speculation. I just came to an educated conclusion about when they'll be doing it, but they said I believe it was a week and a half ago that regulating crypto and NFTs is a matter of national security. So they are taking it very serious. And yes, there will be regulations placed on the blockchain. It's just a matter of how soon and what it looks like when they do place these regulations on the blockchain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I know I saw the past couple of days it's been kind of slowly going back up. Do you think it's going to stay on that trail, or do you kind of have your own predictions, own speculations before that?
Listen, I talked about this, off the air privately to people. I believe that what happened, the reason that the dip happened is politics. Russian central banks said that they're going to ban crypto, but they don't actually have the authority to even make that claim. And then people got scared. And then the Russian government comes out and says, we're not going to ban it. We're just going to regulate it. So they created this artificial dip. They bought the dip, and now it's shooting back up. So it's literally like, again, this game is the wild, wild west, and they're going to scare you out of the money, just like China did. Mm-hmm. China was like, oh, we're going to ban it. But then they started working 10 times harder to create their own national currency, which all Chinese must use or whatever. So it's like, you got to read between these articles and really see, all right, what is the end game here? Are they actually going to ban it? No, they're going to lose out on a lot of money if they just full out ban it. They're going to regulate it. That's where the money is in regulation, So yeah, I think that it's right now it's about to run the hardest it's ever ran, is what I believe, because there's so much around it right now. It's the hot topic outside of all of the little, Bored Ape Yacht Club and all. There's just so much hype around the whole space as a whole. More people are getting involved. The Staples Center isn't the Staples Center anymore. It's crypto.com center, right?
Yep.
So there's so many things happening, and the government is falling behind. So they're going to try to catch up and regulate it, make it normal. And these numbers that we're seeing right now, it's likely we might never see these numbers again, because more and more money is just going to keep getting dumped into it. And you can see that with these big corporations and these big companies actually starting to look for, I'm looking for a metaverse developer. What does that even mean? All of a sudden now Nike's looking for a metaverse developer. They're looking for all of these people that you didn't even need to get a degree to do this. You could hire a 13-year-old boy who's sitting in his house metaverse developing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so a lot of this stuff is going to have to get regulated, because for an NFT project, somebody could hire literally a 13-year-old boy and he can get paid crazy. And then how are you going to tax the 13-year-old boy? You know what I'm saying? He's not even supposed to be working. So there's a lot of this, it's a lot of gray area right now, and they're going to have to make things very black and white. And when they do that, there's going to be mass adoption, and there's going to be more money in this space. And these numbers that we're seeing right now, this is going to be a thing of the past. Like seeing Bitcoin at $3,000. Are we ever going to see that again? It's highly unlikely. Yeah. It's highly unlikely.
Now, I have a question. Oh, sorry. Finish your thought. I apologize.
That's it. That was
okay. What do you have a prediction about this NFT bubble? Do you see this kind of popping here soon? Is it kind of in sync with the crypto bubble, or are these kind of two separate entities? Like, what's your kind of overall thought process on that? I know off the air we talked about these profile pictures kind of going down and utility projects going up. Do you have an estimate or a educated guess on what you think is going to happen there?
Yeah, PFP pictures, PFP profile projects, sorry, they're not going to do well unless they actually have value in the real world, utility in the real world, and they're actually doing like event-based things where they're providing an experience for the people. Utility-based projects and tangible-based projects, music, experiences, and then anything like, people are literally fractionalizing land now and selling it in the form of an NFT, which is now your certificate to pieces of the land. And those kind of projects, they're going to do well because that's what an NFT really is at the end of the day. Now, people got into the game with these PFPs, and there's 100,000 different projects popping up every single day, right? And again, it's the utility, the community behind it, what's actually happening, what is are they trying to turn this into a business? Are they trying to turn this into some sort of, is it a crowdfunding mechanism to build more money for a business venture that then people get, pieces of the pie or whatever it is. So when you start to dig into these projects, you'll be able to tell what projects are going to do well versus, is this just a ape derivative that's just going to go to zero? There's a lot of hype. People are going to buy. People are going to get dumped on. Yeah. There's a lot of those out there. I'm not saying they don't exist. They absolutely do. People are out here scamming people every day, right? But there's also a lot of real life, tangible, valuable projects that you can get in now when they're low. And in the next 5-10 years, you could possibly be wealthy, well off, and have actual stake in the next, Amazon or whatever it might be that's blockchain related.
Those 2% of companies that are going to persevere out of this NFT.
Right.
Thing. Well, the crowdfunding thing is kind of interesting too, because I've seen a few of those popping up, and that's kind of an interesting model, right? It's you buy into the NFT and then you have kind of like a partial. It's almost like stock, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I know the Full Send guys, that podcast I started listening to, they just dropped an NFT, but that's what it is. It's actually kind of like crowdsourcing or funding.
I think they got
future like bigger projects or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a leap of faith in some cases, but at least there's more to it than just an avatar.
Yeah. And
right.
Marcus, if you would, probably just like a brief, condensed format. Can you explain these pay-to-earn games? I mean, are they kind of like BS? Like, why are you getting paid to play these games? Like, I never, like, I heard some of them are good, some of them are bad, and the only reason they're play-to-earn is because, or pay-to-earn, rather, is because they're so bad that people don't want to, like, play them, and they're forcing people to do it just because there's an incentive behind it. Do you want to go further and elaborate more on that?
So, yeah, play-to-earn games, they're major. Actually, if you do research on what's happening in the Philippines, 80% of the people out there aren't actually working. They're doing these play-to-earn games, and they're making a living and surviving. So play-to-earn, honestly, is going to be major as people continue to develop this space. You see Microsoft and Sony getting into this space, and what's going to make people go to those companies rather than the little company that's talking about, yo, if you play this game, you get some sort of reward. And the reason that they can say that you get a reward is because outside of the game, they might have a token for the game. Yeah. And when you build a token, your token can be based off of a lot of different things. So when you're actually building, like, this is the power of cryptocurrency and the power of the blockchain. Like, if we really wanted to solve real life issues, people would come together in the capacity of how can we do this on the blockchain? How can we incentivize people? And rather than, all right, you need to work and you're going to make minimum wage, recreate a different standard. It's a different wealth standard, right? And that's what we're talking about, is a wealth standard. So instead of you working all day after you go to school and after you play your sport, and making minimum wage, you don't have to go to the streets. Let's not stop selling drugs to the people. Just clean up the block. Take pictures, show that you cleaned up the block, submit it to the community, developers or community higher ups, the members who are actually making sure that things are getting done, and they'll pay you out in a token that you can actually go and
cash out,
buy something at the store down here. So that's kind of the play to earn idea, is you play on this platform and you'll get paid out in a token. And with that token, you can buy things on their native platform. So now there is a tangible value here. And they're just saying, if you spend time with us in the community and what we have going on, we're going to give you, it's time for something. You know what I mean? And a lot of the games are BS, right? Because they're talking about, we're going to give you a token that you can then go and trade for ETH. And it doesn't always equate. But when they're talking about, we're going to give you a token that you can, the only way you can buy our merch or come to our store or have access to our product is through this token. So now they're actually creating an ecosystem within a blockchain that already exists, and it's in the form of a token. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then the way that they're paying people is based on them achieving things throughout the game, them actually playing and helping them develop the game further and keeping people engaged with what they have going on. So it's a lot, just like any NFT project, you know, the PFP, there's a lot of them, more than half of them are going to fail. Same with the play to earn. There's a lot of them are going to fail. It's really the ones that are going to be extremely groundbreaking that will stand the test of time.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. I just wasn't sure. I'm very curious because, you know, me and Joe are both gamers. I'm very curious to see how that's going to be going forward. If we're going to see these, I guess, A-list type games implement that into their system, and how would that work? I mean, I'm very, very curious to see, let's say, for example, Call of Duty, what we just talked about, how they could implement that where they have such a, you know, at the end of the day, loyal fan base. How would that look? How do you get paid out in that? And could they even sustain to pay people out on that type of thing? Like, this is kind of something that we've never heard of. You're also having fun playing a game, getting paid for it. Like, it just seems almost too good to be true, you know? So I'm very curious to see how that changes the landscape of things moving forward.
So listen, you have heard of it. You have, just like you have those battle passes, people pay and they level up and they unlock stuff. That's play to earn. It's just not in the blockchain language. You know what I mean? So when they put it into the blockchain language, now you're talking about really paying people for playing. And again, it has to get regulated before those big guys are really going to dump it in. But the reason that they're trying to develop this is so that they have people playing on their platform. And in the future, because they see the way that things are going, you know, more people are going to the PC rather than Xbox and PlayStation. They're losing money to, you know, you left PlayStation, didn't you?
Yep.
And you started playing PC. People are doing that every single day because you don't have to pay a subscription and you still get the same benefits. I could still play Call of Duty and run it up. All right, well, I'm going to do that. You know what I mean? So again, it's going to be interesting to see how they implement it. I don't think that there is going to be a real, you know, you can, of course, it's a token. So you can, you know, go to Uniswap and swap the token and get some ETH and then, you know, all of that kind of stuff. But they're going to push for people to play and then build off of their ecosystem. Because again, the more people that are on their platform, the more people they can then market to, and the more they can generate revenue for their entire business model. You know what I mean? Because after you buy a PlayStation, at the end of the day,
you're limited to
what
only
does
PlayStation
get?
Yeah. Well, you're also
You know?
limited to using just their service. I mean, you could use, you know, you could get on a game and do crossplay, but at the end of the day, you're still limited to PlayStation exclusives. Like me and Joe had this conversation yesterday. He was talking to me about buying an Xbox. At the end of the day, you're only kind of limited to Microsoft type of games, like such as Halo. You know, you're not going to be able to get on Spider-Man, which is owned by Sony at the end of the day. So you're kind of stuck under one umbrella. Once we're kind of all on the same playing field and we're all operating on the same, I don't know, the same playing field, whatever, it'll be interesting to see that dynamic. I mean, I'm very curious to see, and I'm also curious to see how much that'll be. Like after you're playing for an hour, are you getting minimum wage or what that's like, you know? So
right, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see how they implement it, like full spectrum for sure. But you can tell they've already started to develop it a little bit, because forever Call of Duty, you would play the game, you would level up, get guns, get skins. That's sort of play to earn.
Yeah,
it's just not actual real life anything that you can do with it.
Yeah.
But then you can, because you could sell your account, right? Y'all talked about that before. People sold their accounts. So now we're starting to bridge these gaps where now you don't have to do that. You can play and actually earn something of value down the line. They're going to continue to develop that technology. I believe it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you brought up skins, because I that was one of the other things I just caught in the news was, you know, Barrett firearms, the 50 caliber gun, right? Anybody who's played a first person shooters probably at some point had exposure to a 50 caliber sniper rifle, right? So Barrett's a real company that sells real sniper rifles, right? It's a legitimate real world product, but they actually just partnered up with a company called Digital Arms. to release a Barrett NFT.
No way.
Right, and this company apparently has been put on the map just to work with all these like firearms and companies to do NFTs for all this stuff. And I guess the goal is that they've actually created a token called the Hunter token, right? So you have to buy their crypto coin to get the NFT in order to be able to use the Barrett rifle. Because I'm assuming that all these guns are paying a licensing fee for anytime you see a gun in game that is based on a real life manufacturer, right? There's some sort of licensing fee. So now I guess what's going on is Barrett's trying to basically control that economy across any platform that their gun is used in. And then they're saying that there'll be extensions where you can have microtransactions where if you want to add the scope to it, you have to pay for that, and all the stuff in it. It just struck, and the thing there was two things that kind of struck me. One is like, okay, so all these games in the future are probably going to be just saturated with microtransactions, very much like the real world, right? If you think about it, right, the real world is a microtransaction, right? I buy that gun, and then I buy the scope, and then I buy the bullets. That's a bunch of microtransactions around it, right? So it's no different. But what I thought was kind of interesting was they created their own crypto, right? And there's no barrier to entry to do that. Yeah. So that I think is, for me, that's a big concern because that just potentially adds a layer of complexity that nobody needs, right? I don't need to be. It's going to get to the point where I literally have to manage 600 different currencies because this manufacturer has their own, this manufacturer has their own, and I'm sure at some point this will all collapse back down to Ethereum as the standard, or there'll be some software package that manages behind the scenes. Hey, it does. You're trading in this one crypto and all these other ones. Maybe that's a business plan for us to look into. Is an application that sort of normalizes all of these behind the scenes currencies, right?
Angel
to
investors.
a single one. So I don't need to think. Like we talked about Tron and how you can't get it
unless you go to like a specific.
It's difficult to get it, right? And even this Hunter one, I think, is on what's the exchange that has all the really small, penny stock kind of things.
Binance, or
it's on Binance. Okay. Yeah.
Coinbase Wallet you're thinking of?
Right? No. They're what's like Puppy Exchange or something.
Okay,
whatever it is. But I mean, yeah. So I mean, it's one of those things where maybe it's a business model, right? You have an application that sort of removes or strips away all these individual coins and normalizes it into something as a prospect. But yeah, I mean,
it sounds very successful because you're taking out all the difficult things away. It's you're creating a need, something that people need to be able to get directly to the point. I don't want to have to go buy Ethereum to then swap over to Hunter and then have to buy it through there. So if you have like a one-stop service, I'm sure that would be a crazy success, and we're probably on the cusp.
But I mean, it was funny because as I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, the digital world is becoming very much like the real world, and the real world is literally built around microtransactions, right? Yeah. And if you think about it, right, every one of these games is developing this same exact real world economy in the digital form, and that's what we're seeing here, right? So it's
for sure.
Like I said, I kind of go in and out. Like last week, I was like, I'm just done with this horseshit, and then this week, I'm like, okay, now it's coming back that I sort of get it, and it's always kind of interesting. It's
for
crazy.
Sure.
As you pull back different layers and really start to understand it. That's how you start to because when I first heard about it, I was like, this isn't it. This is BS, right? But then I actually started to understand the power in it and how it really works on a major scale, and not looking at it like, oh, Bored Ape Yacht, and all of those kind of things. And I really started to look into how these coins are made and how the tokens are made, and then how you swap them and what ecosystem and what the blockchain really is and everything that's going on. And you start to see, oh, there is a lot of power in it, and everything's going to, like, you already see it. Everybody spends so much time on their phones, on their phones or on their laptop or on a game or whatever it might be. And things are just getting more and more smart, right? You can have your lights turn on and, your heat turn on when you connect to your Wi-Fi as you're driving into your driveway. That's smart technology. So things are going to continue to develop down this way. And for me, it's like, it's way better to be ahead of the curve and at least understand it on some level so that as it starts to continue to develop, you're not really left behind. Because, it's like the people who thought the internet was going to crash, they're the same ones who don't know how to really work the internet now. And now we're in this next phase of the internet, and to be left behind on it is like, just have some sort of understanding. So, okay, I see, I understand. When you start to, paint it in real life, just like swapping a token, if you go overseas, you can't use the US dollar, right? So you got to swap currencies. It's kind of the same idea as you're saying. And then there's a bunch of microtransactions and there's all of this kind of stuff. And then you're diluting the company's shares of their product, because you could go buy an aftermarket, you could go buy an aftermarket scope as opposed to buying their scope because the aftermarket scope is cheaper or whatever it might be. So they're trying to limit and really hold on to the intellectual property and transact differently, almost like getting back to a barter system, but not quite a barter system, because now it's a digital barter system and the currency is digital and it's all weighed very differently, but based on the platform, the network, and all of that kind of stuff. So it's a lot that goes into it, and it's complex, but it's also what's happening in the world. So if you can understand how complex the world is, you'll start to understand the similarities between the digital and the physical. You know what I mean?
Very true. Yep.
Well, I'm kind of, I agree. And I'm kind of just still thinking about what you guys were both saying about these microtransactions. I mean, I want to see the day where there's just like a vanilla game and you have to bring all these things together, like the Barrett you said, in order to like, you just got to like implement your own type of aspects to the game, and then you kind of create your own game. That'll be very interesting to see. Kind of like, I guess that's kind of like what
that's the metaverse, right?
I mean, that's what I was going to say. It's kind of like the metaverse. You kind of have all these different things that is going on, whether it be decorating your house or your outfit or
it's called Minecraft. So.
Minecraft's been doing it for a long time, but I'm very curious to see it. Before we head off, Marcus, do you want to plug in your OnlyBands or what you have going on? Any upcoming projects? Like, where can people find you?
Oh man! All right, so look, if y'all want to find me, Instagram, Twitter, Marcus, Marcus _ Levar, Levar. That's on both of those platforms. I'm active mainly on Twitter. Sometimes I'm active on Instagram, but I'm really in the Web3, so Twitter is where I spend a lot of my time. Outside of that, OnlyBands. If you really want to learn about this stuff, I'm breaking down topics. I'm really sitting and breaking things down and teaching people how to actually get involved with certain, words are in the blockchain and how to really interact with it and how to understand it on a different level than just CryptoPunks and Bored Ape Yachts. So if you want to tap into that, just get with me on either one of those platforms. I'll tell you how to get involved. I meet every Monday and Wednesday, and then I also do solo sessions with people. Like I said, I'm trying to educate people and normalize this information, because what's going to happen is you're going to see this major switch in money and knowledge. And if you can stay ahead of the curve, you won't be left behind. You won't be at the bottom. So right now, people at the bottom can get to the top in the next, 20 years. So I'm trying to push for this to go ahead, because I don't see technology. I don't see us getting hit by EMP worldwide and technology getting wiped. Personally, I'm not that, I'm not the doomsday guy. I'm pretty real with this stuff. I really see technology continuing to develop. So I'm bullish on the entire field. But yeah, outside of that, Rook, I want to talk to you off the air, Rook and Joe, because I have some things that I'm working on that for exclusive minds could definitely be major. It's funny that we were talking about Disney earlier, that got brought up, because I'm not going to get into it on the air, but right. I'm possibly going to be doing something with Disney. And that's not confirmed quite yet, but
manifest it out there, man.
Right. I'm manifesting it, and it's looking like it's actually going to happen. But I'm not going to talk too much about that. I'm not even supposed to tell people that. Right. So y'all just got a little gem right there.
Well, you told our audience of 12, so.
No, we'll definitely we'll talk about it off the air. I forgot to mention this podcast we have another sponsor today.
Exclusive Minds.
Exclusive Minds sponsored us yet again. So head over to exmnds.com. Best fabrics in the game, best people in the game. Go check them out. But yeah, I thought today was a really awesome conversation, enlightening. Back to the crypto show. Every time Marcus comes on, it's the crypto and NFT Web3 show. So, gotta make sure we're staying on our toes. It'd be fun to bring you on for like a I don't know, like a 10-minute analysis like on an episode or something like that. But yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed the conversation. Me, Joe, and Marcus all appreciate you guys for being here and tapped in with us. So make sure to share, like, comment, subscribe, the whole nine.
Yep, and all of Marcus's info will be in the show notes, as they have been for really since the beginning. And again, Marcus, thanks for everything you've done for us. And we'll catch everybody later on episode
16.
16?
We'll see them on 16.
We'll see them on 16.
Yeah.
All right.
See ya.
Bye.
Yeah. Let me drop exclusive game from my exclusive mind. You be out here chasing fame, I stay steady on my grind. 0 diamonds, 0 chains, from my brain is where I shine. Hit you with them good lyrics, I ain't writing and I'm dying. And right now I'm alive, so check it. I reckon I shouldn't cuss on this record. I don't cuss on them often because I'm applying pressure. Grab that fire grind. 0 diamonds, 0 chains, from my brain is where I shine. Hit you with them good lyrics, I ain't writing and I'm dying. And right now I'm alive, so check it. I reckon I shouldn't cuss on this record. I don't cuss on them often because I'm applying pressure. Grab that fire from my dresser. EXM, who does it better? No, I won't let up. Gas pedal fully pressed, I do the dash to the checks. If it ain't assets, I'm never stressed. I keep it calm and collect. Most of y'all stuck in some debt, and you got bad credit. I learned my lesson, I was young and foolish, now I'm better. I kept my head up through the stormiest weather. Wipe my eyes and focused on where I'm headed. We call that constant progression. If we in Vegas and the option is betting on me, you know we cashing out to the teller. Now let me switch my endeavor, change up my whole approach. Let's have a toast to those who do the most. Achieving goals on the road to their dreams, on the path to the cream, counting stacks with their team, living lavishly, but still actively aware that they can be a casualty, so they don't lack humility and they don't dabble with the greed. Yes, they focused on the plan ahead. They know impact will lead to bread, and the bread equals success and less threats. Got some things to accomplish. When someone hits my line, it's not about some nonsense. We making moves, always grinding, we popping. You know we not gonna stop, and never no option but time, and the perfect time is right now. Not caught up in tomorrow. I'm all about making a conscious decision while I'm living. Make a choice, then I'm committed to that vision. I pivot if necessary. It's scary when you get caught in a position that isn't hitting you down bad because you're persistent in the wrong direction. Just learn your lesson, you gotta check it. Audit you and keep on getting better. That's the motive, that's the method. And I'm headed further than I ever thought I could make it. I wouldn't stop unless my pulse flat lines like the doctor lost his patience.